Hey friends, when I give a talk, I can read the room and immediately know how the talk landed, interact with a few people. But when you write a book, it might take your voice further and walk through doors that I wouldn't be able to walk through, but it's also harder to know how it's resonating with the reader. So making these videos is a chance to provide a little bit more texture around each of the rhythms, but it's also a chance to engage you in a more personal way. And I'd love to interact with you, maybe through my website or a Substack or some social media outlet. But I hope it makes the reading more meaningful for you. Now, today, I'm obviously in my home office, another studio where we did life together, but it's the place where I do as much writing as I do praying, as much corresponding as I do just thinking. So settle in as we spend a few minutes talking about a rhythm of gratitude. Teaching our kids to be grateful can feel as maybe forced as pulling a tooth, right? You can wiggle it, but that doesn't mean it's ready. We coax a little gratitude out of our kids when the moment calls for us, and maybe most of us, if we're honest, have been doing the same thing ourselves for years. Saying thank you on cue, as expected. Going around the Thanksgiving table, meaning it mostly, but walking away more or less unchanged, right? The problem isn't that we're ungrateful people. I think the bigger issue, the problem, is that we really haven't learned to see. Seeing, right? Seeing what's there. We can't pass on a way of seeing we haven't practiced ourselves. So here's a working definition for gratitude. It's not a feeling that we summon up. It's a way of seeing that we learn to practice. So 4 moves to walk through in this little section. Each one is a different way to sing. Ready? A couple of years ago, I found myself writing 2 very different sets of notes at the same time. My dad had passed away, and in the same month, our son Björn was getting married. I was literally working on both outlines simultaneously, the eulogy and the wedding message. You talk about all the feels. Both were acts of love. I didn't do them fast. Both were, in their own way, farewells. But what surprised me in the weeks that followed was how both events caused both grief and of gratitude. And they were deeply intertwined. And I was sad to lose my dad. But what kept rising up in me wasn't the loss. It was the overwhelming sense of grace. Gracious privilege. I got to be Ron's son. That was a gift I didn't earn and I could never repay. And with Björn's wedding, we were overjoyed. But no one warns you of a particular ache that comes afterward. His bedroom, which we've been to already in this series, was about to become a guest room. Something was finished. Something permanent had shifted. And out of all of that, I felt like God kept bringing this phrase to mind. And it was this phrase that I finally said, grief is just the shadow side of gratitude. You can't have one without the other. And God inhabits both. See, we all know family life is full of thresholds. First days of school, graduations, marriages, new job, moments of simultaneous joy and grief. And when we can hold both at once, I'm sad and I'm grateful, something opens up. We're no longer running from grief. We're grasping at joy. We're present to what's real in the moment. Now, here's something I didn't learn from seminary, but have come to think of as critical, if not essential. Gratitude just doesn't happen in isolation. It grows out of joy. And joy is fundamentally relational. Dr. Jim Wilder writes about what he calls attachment love. And the idea is this: the same way that a child develops a secure attachment in a family is the same way we grow a secure attachment with God. Isn't that interesting? And the engine of that attachment isn't doctrine or duty. It's joy. When we're genuinely glad to be with someone, when our face lights up at the sight of them, that joy does something neurological. It builds the bond. Wilder points out in this way, he says, joy is the celebration of attachment love. I love that. We rejoice that we're together. Good or bad, we're together. Think about what that means for your family. Family life is full of joy, not because it's easy or because in some way we overcame the hard things, although that's a win. The joy in family is that we bear witness or witness to each other. Whatever the season, we weather it together. We're glad the others are there with us. And when that joy is practiced, when it becomes part of our emotional texture of our home, gratitude follows naturally. We're not manufacturing it. We're just noticing what's already true. That's love expressed incarnationally. Now, Dallas Willard wrote a sentence that I've been sitting on for a long time. It just hasn't escaped me, but he said these words: you can't love in a hurry any more than you can sleep in a hurry. So rather than asking, how can I love more? We ask the basic question, how can I get out of being in a hurry? I think the same is true of gratitude. We can't be grateful in a hurry. Not really, right? Hurry contracts our vision. It narrows our attention to what's urgent, what's problematic, what needs to be solved, what demands to be fixed right now, in this moment. The sacred small things, the way your kid laughs at something absurd, or the smell of dinner, or the fact that everyone is alive and under the same roof tonight. Those require a certain pace to notice. Now, the rhythm of gratitude, as I talk about it in the book, and kind of the posture of our heart, is less about adding a gratitude practice to our schedule, like, oh, that's a new discipline I have to learn, and more about cultivating a posture of noticing, right? It's attentiveness, slow enough to see what's already there. I think that's huge. And in each of these rhythms, I've tried to just name one of the faces or the characteristics, the attributes of God that comes alive in the work, right? So we talked about the gardener for apprenticing, just tilling the soil, the whisperer for renewal that just has to speak in the quiet places, the God who goes ahead for hospitality, prepares a way, the God who stoops into community, or the God of all comfort for compassion. And we talked in generosity about the vine, we're the branch. But for gratitude, the name I keep coming to is Ebenezer. You know, the Hebrew word is thus far. We get it from come thou fount of every blessing. Ebenezer, 1 Samuel 7 sets it up, the stone, after a hard season, and he gives it that name, Ebenezer. Thus far, the Lord has helped us. It's not a name about what God is doing right now. It's a name about what God has already done. Latent in us, we've encountered him, which is exactly what gratitude does. It looks back. And here's the thing about looking back. Every one of those names on that list, God is a gardener, as a whisperer who goes ahead, who stoops down to us, who comforts us. The vine was somebody God gave, and somebody gave that name to and encountered him in that way in the middle of their life, and they wrote it down. Now those names are available to all of us. Your spiritual thesaurus are the names you've collected for God. Not the names you know about, like a data point or in theory, the names you've actually met. I hope that lands well with you. But one question to take with you this week: which name of God in your story have you maybe not remembered to name out loud? Who, and then secondly, who in your family needs to hear it? Thanks for being here, friends. Keep paying attention this week, and don't forget, you've already met the God you love, the God you need, and the God you want more of.